The room fell silent the moment Michael Ward stepped in, the single father who had spent years balancing 2 jobs and raising his 10-year-old daughter alone. Everyone turned toward the source of the low, firm voice, "Careful with your words." No one had expected him to speak, and yet, the words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. In the center of the room, Vivian Sterling, the young heiress of one of the wealthiest families in the country, held a file in her hands, her fingers trembling as she opened it. The paper crackled in the quiet, and in that instant, it felt as if time itself had paused. Michael had only heard rumors of the document's existence, a report that could ruin reputations, careers, and fortunes alike. He had tried to warn someone, anyone, earlier that day, but had been brushed aside with polite dismissals. Yet instinct compelled him to speak now, and he did, knowing that words could either destroy or save everything. Vivian's eyes scanned the file, her face shifting from curiosity to disbelief. The murmurs in the room faded into silence as she absorbed the shocking details. Michael could feel the tension coil around him, an invisible rope tightening with every second. He thought of Emily, waiting for him at their small apartment, trusting that he would do the right thing. That thought steadied him. "It doesn't tell the whole story," he finally said, stepping forward. The room collectively turned toward him, surprised by the presence and authority of a man they had never noticed before. "There's more behind these numbers, these decisions. People are being judged unfairly, and if the truth isn't told, lives could be ruined." Vivian looked up at him, her expression sharp and searching, trying to gauge whether his words were empty or sincere. "Explain," she demanded softly, and Michael began recounting everything, the hidden pressures, the miscommunications, the small acts of integrity that had been overlooked in the rush to assign blame. He spoke with honesty, emotion, and a careful selection of words that carried both weight and compassion. The room that had been tense and judgmental gradually transformed as executives and employees alike began to reconsider their assumptions. Every detail he revealed painted a fuller, more human picture behind the cold facts of the report. As Michael spoke, Vivian's skepticism softened into understanding, and she realized the courage it had taken for him, a man with so little power, to step into a room of influence and speak the truth. "We forget," she said finally, closing the file and looking around the room, "that behind every report are real people with real lives. Careless words can destroy, but careful words can heal." The executives nodded slowly, absorbing the significance of her words, the room's atmosphere shifting from tension to reflection. Michael's heart swelled, not with pride, but with the quiet satisfaction of knowing that he had done the right thing. When the meeting ended, Vivian approached him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Thank you," she said sincerely, "for reminding us of something important, that humanity matters more than reports, more than appearances, more than power." Michael smiled, thinking of Emily, and how her trust had always been his guiding light. Returning home, he found her waiting with a bright smile, her laughter filling their small apartment with warmth. That night, as he tucked her into bed, he reflected on how courage wasn't about status or wealth. It was about speaking truth, trusting in its value, and having the compassion to see beyond assumptions. From that day onward, Michael understood the profound weight and power of words. He realized that even the smallest voices could shift the course of events, that honesty and integrity were stronger than fear, and that sometimes, speaking up was the only way to protect those we loved. Vivian, too, carried that lesson into her life, vowing to lead with empathy and reflection, ensuring that no one in her world would ever be judged without understanding. The single father and the heiress, from worlds apart, had reminded everyone in that room that words could either wound or heal, and when chosen wisely, they could rewrite destinies. Life was fragile, mistakes were human, and yet, through careful words and courageous hearts, redemption, understanding, and hope were always possible. Michael smiled at Emily as she drifted to sleep, feeling a quiet triumph. It wasn't the riches, the recognition, or the accolades that mattered. It was the courage to speak, the wisdom to listen, and the compassion to truly understand. And with that, he knew that no matter the challenges ahead, he had made a difference, not just for a room full of strangers, but for the world his daughter would inherit.